Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today, ResLife Adjacent Working with Greek Students and Housing. Today's webinar is sponsored by the Glucuho Facilities and Operations Committee. My name is Jeremy Alexander. I'm the Glucuho Technology Coordinator from Eastern Illinois University, and I'll serve as your moderator for today's webinar. Before we begin the webinar, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items with you as to maximize your learning for this session. You will want to leave the GoToWebinar control box at the far right of your screen. This is where this is most likely open when you join the webinar. To ask questions, type in a chat box which will remain open for the entire presentations. The presenters will answer questions as quickly as possible, but want to ensure enough time to cover all the materials. Should you experience any problems, please type in that chat box and we'll work to assist you. At the end of the session, the presentation and audio recording will be available on our Glucuho website at glucuho.org under the Webinar Archives resource section for your future reference. We encourage you to share this resource with your colleagues when you're able to, for anyone who is unable to attend. Today, I'll hand it over to Kayla Haggerty from the Glucuho Facilities and Operations Committee to get us started. Kayla.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Again, my name is Kayla Haggerty. I am on Glucuho's Facilities and Operations Committee as a committee member, and I currently work for Kappa Alpha Theta's Fraternity Housing Corporation. To share a little bit about myself before we dive in, I am what I call a former ResLifer, getting my master's degree at Eastern Illinois University. My professional career has been at Loras College in Iowa, at Eastern Illinois University, and at Ball State University, and transitioning from Ball State, where I was a hall director of a 600-woman all-female residence hall, and in that space we had sorority suites that I am engaged with, and I also served as a faculty or staff advisor to a fraternity. So that has really kind of led me to working for a Greek organization, working with our housing corporation. And we also have Robert King here, so go ahead and introduce yourself, Robert.
Yes, so hi, Glucuho. This is Robert King, the Facilities and Operations Chair for your current exec board, and just excited to be here and have Kayla present on this, really awesome sort of what we call the ResLife adjacent experience that she's taken up that I think will be sort of enlightening to those who might be considering working with Greek housing or just, considering some of the options that are presented to our professionals in the region. I have been in the region here for the last 7 years, and I really found Kayla's story to be just pretty awesome. And I'm just excited that she's going to take the time this morning to share with you all. And so, yeah, thank you, Kayla, and I guess you can take it away.
Great. So to share with you first, we will go through the objectives for the presentation, which are really to share more about the structure and organizations that are responsible for housing on behalf of the Greek organizations. As well, we really are hoping to highlight some of the really unique partnerships that we have in the Glucuho region with a housing corporation and the Greek organizations with on campus. We're also going to be highlighting some really unique career opportunities that many might not know about that are still connected to residence life and Greek organizations, as well as offer some considerations that as your institution or your organization may be working with Greek orgs and their housing corporations, some things to think about. So some hopeful tangible tools for you.
Getting to know what they do operationally.
Great. So we're going to kind of start just to recap for those who may not be as well versed in Greek language. So really you have as an umbrella term your Greek organization, and then under that we have what we see most as the collegiate or chapter members, the undergraduate students, and they're intentionally holding this umbrella here because they really are generally the ones who steer the direction of the organization. Of course, we have a headquarters or international headquarters that may help govern them, but on your campus, you're going to primarily be interacting with the collegiate chapter as a whole or members. Just to give you a language check here, if you're not familiar, Whenever you hear the word chapter, that's really encompassing the whole local group of members. So they will typically have a Greek lettered name as a part of their chapter members. So I am a member of the Gamma Eta chapter of Sigma Kappa. As well as, so after you have under your umbrella, we really have our advisory board. So this is a group of alumni who are providing guidance and support to the different officers generally, to the chapter members. So you may interact with them probably pretty minimally on the university administrative side. They will primarily be interacting with the headquarters as a liaison between headquarters and the collegiate chapter members. They will also help support the chapter when it comes to the educational programming, recruitment, finances, member development, or member conduct, those kinds of aspects. And then you also have either a national house corporation or a local house corporation. Many organizations have started out with a local house corporation board or house core board. And this is also another group of alumni volunteers who will help manage their facility in whatever aspect. So that could be helping supervise a facility director or house director if they have one, paying for cleaning service, getting maintenance done. Recently, in the past several years, there's been a trend where local house corporation boards are dissolving, and a national house corporation of some sort is kind of taking over in place of that local alumni. So some organizations have purely national house corporations, and some also operate solely on the local boards, or even a variety of. So kind of highlighting some key house corporations here for us. It's very common within NPC sororities, and some fraternities also have house corporation boards. This is pretty general for the National Panhellenic Council and Interfraternity Council. And a part of these house corporation boards, they encompass usually interior designers. So one of the, of course, important aspects is to ensure our facilities, just like residence hall or university properties, is that they are attractive to the ever-growing and demanding needs of the collegiate student. House corporations also have property or project managers. These people are the ones who may lead a larger renovation or new construction even. So these project managers could be owned or employees of the house corporation. They could be a third-party project manager or subcontractors that they work with. And then as well, they have volunteers, staff, or a property management company. A common one that you may notice as a property management company is CSL, whom work as on behalf of the National Housing Corporation that the local board or the National Housing Corporation may hire. Or they could be a part of as staff as a property management company, or again, going back to the local house corporation board model where they are alumni volunteers. Some of the operations that they, as house corporations, really deal with are room and board contracts. From booking and securing a food service company to setting room and board rates. They also deal with housekeeping, whether the chapter may have individual chore responsibilities or housekeeping service that they may hire, as well as food service, what that looks like for food service on the weekends. How does that work with food contracts and board contracts with the university, or even a third-party food service company that may cater inside their sorority or fraternity facility. Staff management as well. So when it comes to many chapters have house boys or bussers or hashers, kind of depending on the language used at that institution. These are often dishwashers, if you will. So after a meal service, staff whom are hired to pick up after the meal, get the kitchen back in order. Depending on your food service contract, you may have those. I know in Illinois, those are often called Evans Scholars. Some institutions have scholarship programs that provide a work environment to students while also providing free meals. The staff management could also include, again, your food service or housekeeper if they're independent people versus a company, as well as your house director, facility director, aka house mom. A house corporation would also work with facility management with vendors, so hiring a handyman, hiring plumbers, electricians, any and everything that may be needed to help assist with the facility. We really rely on vendors, just like you would as a personal home, to be the experts of mechanical systems.
Yep, we got you back.
You're good. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Sorry for the delay there. I'm not sure where I left off on this, so I'm just highlighting some of the institutions that Kappa Alpha Theta works with on behalf of the Fraternity Housing Corporation. One thing that's really important to us is in our designs, including aspects of our organization. And so throughout the designs, you're going to see a lot of our organization's colors, which are black and gold, as well as hints to the kite emblem. For an example, you can see in the bottom right-hand picture is a kite shelf. And in the bottom left-hand corner, you see 2 stars, and those are both aspects of the organization that are really important to us. Highlighting some of the really unique institutions that we have here in the pictures. On the top right is a picture of our living room or entryway at Northwestern University. This property is technically on campus, and we lease this space from the university. Below that, in the middle right-hand side, that's a picture of our living room at Hanover College, another on-campus house that we lease from the university. And then here in our bottom left is an example of our space at Lake Forest University. This is one where we lease a residence hall lounge or suite from the university. So working oftentimes with the university as well as managing our own independent facilities. So the Fraternity Housing Corporation currently has 93 Theta chapters out of 156 that have voluntarily decided to join us. And of those properties, they are from as large as 106 residential homes at 30,000 square feet to just simple storage units and suites or lodges all in between that we might lease or partner with the university on. All right. So one of the things that's really important is to kind of show the differences and similarities in the different paths that we may have with a housing corporation and a residence life aspect with the university. And so some of those similarities are definitely staff supervision. Residence hall staff may supervise a graduate student or multiple, as well as undergraduate staff. We also have that version of supervising a facility director or house director in our organization. And oftentimes those are full or part-time staff members. We include just similar aspects that a residence hall may experience, so things from pest control to maintenance requests and renovations. Similarly, we also deal with emotional support animals and comfort animals and how those individuals may be welcomed in our facility or limited in our facility, and how we support our students by utilizing those aspects. We also very much, as one of our top priorities, focus on security issues with our facility. With many entrances, just like a residence hall may have, constantly managing who has access to the facility and when they have access is important to us to preserve the safety of our members. We do deal with very much students of privilege, just like you may experience in a residence hall or collegiate setting. Oftentimes, some members have money, and so focusing on how we can support our students of privilege, but also those who are not as privileged in having equal access to our organizations. We also have custodial services as hinted at, and so some of the similarities of working with those custodial services when there are important events or big weekends, such as move in or move out, or different festivities that may occur at the facility, and how the facility is being maintained through custodial services. As well as I've mentioned before, establishing room and board and fulfilling occupancy is something we also deal with. We have rent that the chapter may pay to us, or property taxes that they may pay, and so it is important to us that we also focus on fulfilling our space as well, and encouraging that our members want to live there by filling it to occupancy and providing services that meet their needs. Some of the differences that you might see on the Greek side of things is room selection. Maybe that's different compared to a residence hall setting where it is based off of credits, or maybe you do or don't have limitations of how they select room types. At least in Kappa Alpha Theta, we go off of a point system to where members have some points based on their fulfilling some of the requirements of the organization or the local chapter. And so they establish at a local level how they fill their house and how they offer room selection. Of course, we have alumni relations that is probably a bit stronger on the Greek side, in establishing that we're often going to have alumni coming back for homecoming weekend, and how they interact with our facility, or even people who donate aspects to the facility. Interior design, organization are all aspects of Greek life that I may see a lot stronger than I have in the university setting, making sure that our designs are contemporary and up to date, so we remain competitive compared to the other Greek organizations that may be on campus, as well as ensuring our space is functional. Recruitment and ritual set up. So many of the organization's facilities either have a chapter room or lots of storage supplies that are needed for all their different supplies for ritual that they may need to post up or store, as well as cook service. So you may have a dining center in your residence hall facility or campus union, while we also have a commercial kitchen. Similar to maybe most residence halls have, they do have student kitchens, and we are trying to incorporate more of those into our facilities, where students don't have to rely on the food service company, who often don't serve on the weekends, to provide their own meals, bake cookies, and make macaroni and cheese. Some of the differences that you might see on the residence life end that we deal with a bit less on the Greek side is conduct in judicial issues. Those aspects are primarily left to the local advisors and national house corporations, or international headquarters, not the house corporations, which is really a unique aspect to the dynamics of a facility. We deal with a little bit less on the house corporation and student development needs. So whether that's mental health or roommate issues, again, many of those items are left to the local advisors to provide kind of the people support to our members, and headquarters as well. There's often many resources that are offered to those, and they're very well trained and equipped to handle those issues, but a house corporation may not deal with those items specifically. As well as working with parents. A hall director may get phone calls from parents about their student issues, and as a house corporation, we rarely deal with parents because, again, going back to our structure is that the local advisory board or chapter officers or headquarters interact primarily with the parents. So the best way to kind of describe house corporation in looking at the similarities and differences is think of a house corporation like a landlord, while the local chapter advisors and headquarters deal with the people within the facility. Really wanted to touch on some excellent partnerships that are throughout the Gulkuho region. One of those highlighting the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. They have a certified housing office. So it's a sub-office or sub-department within their housing and residence life area And this office is primarily a liaison between Greek organizations and other off-campus housing that may be approved or supported. So one really great thing is they do have a residency requirement, but they allow at the university for students to transfer their residency requirement to be a part of off-campus housing at these approved certified housing locations. So they do send us regulations or have some regulations and requirements that off-campus housing must follow to be as a certified approved facility for students. Those items, including having a roster, doing monthly or bi-monthly training. They do work with the facility for local ordinances and health organizations to do inspections. They just really are a great connector to the community with a town and gown relationship with these organizations, as well as they help provide kind of closing lists that you may see just like in a residence hall of how to close the facility for winter, summer break, as well as how to open it. They've offered support to connecting free dumpsters that you may have on campus, but also being available to off-campus properties. So that's just been a really great organization, something to definitely look into if you would like more information about them, to visit the University of Illinois' website about their certified housing office. Another example is Case Western University. They are in Ohio. They have a house-to-home program that they utilize. So on their campus, the Greek organizations are technically on campus property, and as well we lease our houses through them. But they do provide in funds to support the facility and improvements. One really awesome aspect of that is they don't just give funds, because if you ask students for money, of course, they're going to tell you everything that they want, but they really focus on how the funds are going to be used to support the organizational values. So really connecting, if you have an importance for scholarship, okay, you want a dry erase board. Well, that could be used in your study room, and how does that support scholarship as an organizational value? A really excellent program that we've benefited from, and makes a really great relationship between the university and the House Corporation and local chapter. Another institution to really highlight is Northwestern University. Again, this is an on-campus facility, full-size house, independent house that is on campus that we lease through the university, and also have a great relationship there. They do lead, as a part of their housing and their Greek Life office, a collaborative house director training. They do help assist with crisis response. They have a work order maintenance system as being part of campus. So we can hire their university facility staff through a work order system to help take care of maintenance issues at our facility. And then they would do invoicing for that as well. And additionally, they have the access management system, whether that is a card or fob system. They help manage that for us, where if it was a full off-campus property, that we may have our own individual system. But this really works. We're really looking forward to it at Northwestern University, to where their student ID cards can be accessed on our facility. So some excellent partnerships to definitely look into. I'm happy to offer some examples of others if you would like at another time. So transitioning a little bit, I would love to hear and have my colleague Sarah Beckman share a little bit about her experience as a property manager, and this really gets to highlighting the career opportunities that are offered through Kappa Alpha Theta as a kind of ResLife adjacent professional.
Hey everyone, and like Kayla said, my name is Sarah Beckman. I popped on a little while ago when we had our technical difficulties. So I'm here to just tell you a little bit about my path and transition into the property manager role here at Kappa Alpha Theta. Similarly to Kayla, I am a former ResLifer. I went to grad school at Florida State University, worked in ResLife and housing there while I was getting my master's degree, then worked at Butler University for a few years as a residence life coordinator, and then most recently, before this job at Theta, I was working at Northeastern University in Boston, and I was working with their off-campus leased properties. So I was still doing a lot of the ResLife things, but then I was also collaborating with a variety of different property managers in the city of Boston and really just getting more experience with that property management side of things. And then I actually saw this position with Theta on a Facebook group, and I was kind of like, that looks interesting, like it could be fun. And fun fact, I do not have a Greek life background. I was not Greek in my undergrad experience. I had a lot of friends who were, but I was not, so I didn't really know if I could even apply for this position, but I did anyway. And here I am now. I've learned a lot about Greek life, about the entire Greek system, and it's been a really great learning opportunity. I feel like the property manager, really, I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. I do a lot of, like Kayla's mentioned, a lot of the physical property management, but then also I'm able to utilize a lot of my ResLife and student affairs experience when working with those different like houses or suites in residence halls that are owned and managed by the university. But I'm really that voice for Theta and really that person who's representing the women who are living there and helping to communicate with the different university officials and really just collaborating and working with everyone in the student affairs field at the different properties that I manage. So that's kind of a quick overview of my transition and how I got into this position.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sarah. So again, this is another unique opportunity that many of ResLife professionals and student affairs professionals may not know is even out there as an opportunity to still kind of get your student affairs fix. So we still very much interact with our students regularly, do training and educational aspects, as well as help maintaining the facility. So it's a really excellent opportunity to look into as a future option. Another position I would love to highlight is our facility directors. This is what Kappa Alpha Theta calls them. Other organizations may call them house directors or the previous notion of a house mom. So there has definitely been a transition in the last 10 years or so with these individuals. If you will, they are a hall director, but of a much smaller size hall and deal with items focusing on the facility and less of the student development or student conduct programming aspects. As a facility director, this again has traditionally been a house mom who has slept and eaten and is that motherly figure. But really this position has transitioned to focusing purely on the facility so that it is being maintained while the advisors can provide that emotional or developmental support for the students. So they really will be the ones who meet with a vendor to come to the house, ensure safety and security is being kept up. They are the primary liaison between the food service company, the housekeepers, or any additional staff that may be at the property. They may meet regularly as a group on your campus, or they may not. Or they may meet with your university staff officials in fraternity and sorority life, or even with a hall director of your building. Each location of where a chapter is and who has a facility director is definitely different in the needs of that campus and the needs of that local chapter. So there is a variety in house directors or facility directors. Oftentimes this is averaging about 20 to 30 hour week position. One aspect that Kappa Alpha Theta is trying to get more student affairs individuals as facility directors is a great kind of entry level or transitional position. So it is not for, it is for individuals of all experience levels and not kind of that older traditional house mom feel, but one who can still connect with students, but also maintain the facility. Love to highlight one of my staff members, Danny Goldberg, she is at Northwestern University, and she is a former ResLifer. Her previous position was at Southern Illinois as a hall director and has transitioned to Kappa Alpha Theta as a facilities director. And we've just really enjoyed the student affairs aspect that she brings to the job. And so we are looking to hire definitely more individuals with a student development or student affairs background, teaching or educational background as these roles. So you might see our postings from time to time on different student affairs pages. If you ever have any questions about this position, I'm absolutely happy to answer this as well. But we do hire every year for multiple locations across the United States. Wonderful. So now is kind of our last component here, offering the different considerations as you may work with a house corporation or Greek organization in your campus environment. Some things to be aware of is to share your policies with them, whether you have guest or visitation, escorting policies, maybe in your residence hall, rules or policies regarding access. If students have IDs that are used in facilities and they can't share IDs, ensuring they know those access aspects. When it comes to decorating of the facility, if you have fire code needs, for example, many have fire code regulations, no hanging lights or drapery off of the ceiling or certain kind of fire protected fabrics must be used. Sharing those policies with them to ensure that any decorating that is done does meet the needs of the university. As well as maintenance, if you require them to use a certain vendor, ensuring that you communicate the requirements that is needed. So if they have insurance liability coverage, or if you must have them use a vendor off an approved listing, providing that list to them. Or if you have to get it through approvals through your campus risk department, that could be a great thing to ensure that you're sharing with them so that they can meet the needs that you require. We want to be helpful and supportive and follow your policies, but ensuring that we know those will be helpful in that. Communicating with the summer space requirements. So if it is in residence hall suite or lounge that you may use for camps or conferences, communicating with them if those spaces are used in the summer or not, or if you do require for the furniture to be moved out. How it would work if our furniture is used during camps and conferences, but is damaged, and how that goes about replacing it, kind of sharing about what requirements you may have. Additionally, kind of sharing and maintaining an up-to-date advisor or house corporation and officer contact info. You may know that officers oftentimes transition in their roles in November and December, while also house corporation or advisors also transition. So ensuring you regularly have an updated list of who your main contact is and who to contact for certain types of events will be helpful. Share with them how to submit work orders. Just like you may hear on campus of how something is broken, but a student may never report it, we also face that same issue. And so sharing with us about how to submit work orders if you are a leased property that we may lease with a university for, so that we can also get those items resolved as well. We don't want things to be broken or out of order, just as long as you wouldn't want to either. But one really unique aspect about that is figure out how can a non-student, such as an advisor or a house corporation person as a part of headquarters, submit a work order. Some institutions only allow students with a student ID number to submit those. So thinking about how an outside person can submit those. At one of the schools I work with, I just send an email, and that is it, and that serves as my work order. So an equally great option as well. Awesome. Another consideration to think about are composite photo days. So you may know composites are the large pictures that are used on campus to display their organization's membership. And so they will hire third-party photography companies to come take photos. And in the residence hall I used to supervise, never really knowing when those composite photo days are, and then how to get all the big equipment up to the residence hall, suite, or lounge was difficult, especially when you didn't know in advance. And so communicating with them about when composite photo days are, and communicating as well with the Greek organization about what are the expectations when having that company in your maybe residence hall or leased space. It's definitely important and helpful for the Greek organization as well as your institution to provide and maintain updated leases or memorandums of understanding, and knowing when they sign or when they renew, if there is a charge that is associated with that, a lease amount maybe. One thing to think about is, does the house corporation need to sign these and not the students? In working with some institutions, we definitely have a student affairs development aspect, and the students are the ones responsible, when legally, actually, it is the house corporation that are responsible. So ensuring that the house corporation is involved in these leases and are the ones signing it as well, versus maybe the individual students who may not even know what they're signing either. So ensuring that you incorporate the house corporation in those conversations with leases or memorandums of understanding will be helpful. Communicate about what university staff can or can't do. So some universities that we work with are very much more hands-on, while others are more hands-off, and all of that really depends on the different leases that we have at the different institutions. So if there is something that a university staff person cannot do, please ensure that you communicate with that. Or if there's a service that you do offer, such as, for an example, I have many university fraternity and sorority life offices helping advertise our facility director openings. If that is a service that you also provide, communicating that. Or if you also have a requirement of a monthly house corporation meeting, communicating those expectations as well. Coordinate facility access. So with the member rosters, ensuring that those rosters are up to date, but how does a university or house corporation need to work together to ensure facility access? So one thing to think about is, do advisors get access to the lounge or suite that may be in a residence hall or on campus property? Does a vendor or headquarters staff have access, and how does that work? So myself as a property manager, we travel to our different chapters. Oftentimes I have to coordinate with either the university directly to give me access, as I may stay overnight at that facility, or advisors come and go pretty frequently during the different events. So is there any special privileges that a vendor or advisor may get? Providing timely and clear billing. So if your university may allow for the Greek organization to utilize your facilities department or physical plant to complete work orders, ensuring that billing invoices are clear and get them timely. We want to ensure that you get paid equally, just as fast as you would want to get paid. And so providing that, and so that sometimes that includes working with your finance or bursar office on your campus to ensure the invoices are getting to the correct people and are communicated clearly. As well, something to consider is really communicate what services are performed annually by your institution. So if your institution provides summer deep cleaning of the facility, or even bathroom cleanings, or common area cleanings as a great example, or maybe they're the ones who do a boiler inspection for the on-campus suite that the university may manage. Communicating what services you provide annually, as we do track maintenance of the facility, as well as if we notice there are issues with those, we want to ensure that we communicate those as well, or if we need to hire a third-party company to assist with that, then we can do so. One of the last considerations here for us is consider a semester or quarterly house core meeting or newsletter. Many of the institutions that I work with send a monthly newsletter of just important events that are happening on campus that might affect the facility. Other things to consider are how you partner with your fraternity and sorority life when working with house directors. Do you have meetings that is expected for them to require? How do you involve them, or maybe don't involve house or facility directors in certain aspects that are happening on campus? So for an example, if you have a health outbreak on your campus, how do you let facility directors or house corporations know about resources on campus? Do you provide them access to information about where the counseling center is on campus so they can casually offer that as a resource to the chapter officers or advisors or the students that may be in need? If you have Greek RAs or house managers, so these are undergraduate students that you may require in your Greek facility, think about how is your training or expectations similar or different than the ones maybe expected by the organization. I've oftentimes ran into where the university is asking a Greek RA or house manager to fulfill an expectation that we also expect them to do. And so helping them understand double dip, similar expectations or different things, as well as looping in the house corporation board when working with these Greek RAs or house managers will be really important as well. Especially obviously too when it comes to hiring and firing, if you have to release a staff member from that position, are they associated with that Greek organization or not, and how does that selection process go? Especially when it comes to the officer selections within the organization. Another consideration is to think about how you would respond if alumni randomly show up at your front desk and want a tour. This is something I ran into quite frequently in my previous role, and we definitely want to respect the alumni, but also being prepared. So think about, how is your front desk staff notified, or how are you notified? Who gives that tour? Or how is that scheduled? Because you very minimally will not have knowledge ahead of time if that's happening. A last consideration here for us is, how do you incorporate them into your residence hall community? So whether that's hall council or hall government, if your building is primarily made up of Greek students, I know at Rochester in New York, they have each floor is dedicated to a Greek organization, and they decorate their hallways and allow the Greek organization to paint their crest out there, as well as do partnerships to highlight philanthropy events that may be going on for that organization, incorporating them as a whole Greek community in the on-campus experience. So that's everything I have today. Definitely want to open up some time for any last-minute questions that people may have. There's my email if you have any lingering questions that you may ask. I'll leave it open for any questions at the end, but other than that, thank you so much for joining our webinar. We really appreciate it. Great. A great question was asked of if I could share about how I was trained to do all of these things, and that's an excellent question. A lot of it is definitely learning on the job. A big transition for me was to learn the Theta Way, or how different universities work. And so when I go on property visits to visit these chapters, I really make an intentional effort to connect with the Residence Life or Fraternity and Sorority Life offices and explain what I do, because many of them don't know, and just really offer background information about my role and how I work with our similar student population. Creating a connection point has been very, very helpful for me. I often do, when it comes to kind of the maintenance side of things, I do leave it to the experts, the vendors that we may hire. So I am in no way an expert on elevators or pest or plumbing issues or HVAC issues, but definitely through time and experience, you gain a lot of knowledge. I currently oversee 17 Theta chapters all across the United States, and there's, as you may know, similar to a residence hall setting, there's always things breaking down. So addressing those as they happen. I would say definitely the residence life experience of staff supervision was an easy transition into this role, because of working with RAs and graduate students has been really similar to working with full-time professionals. Though one unique aspect of that is working remotely and from a distance, so utilizing technology to help build rapport and having one-on-one conversations with staff regularly has been important.
Kayla, we had one come through the question bar. What training sessions / conversations would you recommend us have with our Greek RAs?
Great question. Let's see. I would say training sessions or conversations to have with Greek RAs is focusing maybe really on the values of the organization and how do their personal values align maybe with the department's values, as well as having conversations about when maybe they notice a member making a poor choice that violates university policy, how they address that. Or, if they have a conflict maybe with an advisor or a fellow member, how they address those issues in working as a support system with the university. I think those would be some really great aspects to highlight and recommend for additional trainings on, or aspects to touch upon. Especially since if they're RA, they probably will definitely have some of their members going through recruitment and what that experience could be like for them if a member joins their organization, or if a member doesn't get invited to that organization. I think that could be a really important aspect. Bringing in how is the house corporation work. Maybe that's something that as professionals we try to connect with the house corporation and see how they work, what do they value, figuring out if they're going to have maintenance coming in or design renovations, so that you have ahead time to think about what to plan out for the year. Excellent. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and feel free to reach out to me if you have anything further. Have a great day.